Ba-dum. Rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Monday night. Here we are again every Monday. Whether we need to or not, we are here. My name is Joette Calabrese, my friends, and I am here every Monday night to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to teach you homeopathy and hope that you will share it amongst yourselves as well, and that you will grow your education, grow your knowledge, and get to the point where you can feel more comfortable about doing this alone or with your friends, of course, and your family. And so for those of you who don't know me, that's what I do. For those of you who do know me, welcome, friends. Hi. Hello. Laura from South Dakota and Diane from Sugar Land, Texas, and Pennsylvania and Florida. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all tonight. We're going to talk about something that's actually quite a vast subject, but I want to touch on it. And I was thinking maybe what I should do is do a couple of these, maybe follow-ups, because there are so many ways that we can use homeopathy instead of the ubiquitous antibiotics. So I want to tell you something interesting that I learned a long time ago when I used to read, many years ago, I used to read Rudolf Steiner's works. And then it all fit together with homeopathy and childhood development and education, etc. I learned this. Actually, I noticed it first, and then it came together when I read it, and I said, oh my gosh, it's something I've actually observed myself. I noticed that when my first son would get sick, let's say a sore throat or something, a strep throat, that just before he got sick, he was frustrated with something, some learning aspect of his life, some developmental a developmental rut that he was in. So, for example, I can't tie my shoes. I'm trying, I just can't tie my shoes. And then shortly after, he'd get a sore throat, strep throat, for example, or an ear infection, or conjunctivitis, or something like that. And after the disease, he was able to tie his shoes. That's because I never suppressed the ability of the body to push through the eye of the needle, so to speak. I didn't hold back his development. Children are supposed to get sick, and we're supposed to get comfortable with that idea. And if we keep thinking that we must put an end to infections, now, I'm talking about simple childhood diseases right now, infections that are very common to children, strep throat, otitis media, ear infections, conjunctivitis, eye infections, coughs, even bronchitis. If we tinker with them and suppress them with certain synthetic drugs of commerce, we often see that they can't move on to that next developmental shift. Now, I never actually saw that part because I never gave my kids drugs. Never happened. I just didn't do it because I trusted that their bodies would be able to get past this. I don't know why I knew that. I didn't know enough homeopathy at that point when I was first raising my first son. I didn't know that much. But then I would see it again. I can't ride my bike. I want to be able to ride it without the training wheels, and falling off shortly after he would get an illness, a normal childhood illness. And after he got through the illness, not 3 days later, although once I learned homeopathy, we could shorten that often quite a bit. But illnesses for children are supposed to last days. I've often heard people say parenthetically, oh my gosh, my child was sick for 2 weeks. My friends, I remember when I was in grammar school in the 50s and early 60s, when somebody was out for being sick from school, they were gone 2-3 weeks. That's just what happens. That's how long it takes sometimes. So I would not give him anything. He would get sick. He'd be on the couch. I'd be giving him garlic, and especially early on before I knew any homeopathy, I might have given him some cell salts because I knew a little bit about that. I made my own chicken bone stock. I didn't know anything about kombucha at the time, but I gave him plenty of lemonade, homemade lemonade with fresh lemons and raw honey. He would get past it. And when he felt well enough and energetic enough after that strep throat, that bronchitis, that otitis media, that conjunctivitis, whatever it might have been, guess what he was capable of doing? Got right on that bike and started riding around the backyard. Now, what does this say about infections? Is it something we should fear? Or is it something we should embrace? Is it something that is so normal that it should happen for children? I would say that it's something we want to embrace. And I've written an article years ago, it was published in a couple of different places, called Get Your Kids High. It was all about fevers and letting your children get a fever. Now, with homeopathy, we can shorten that. And it's not suppression with homeopathy. Instead, it just moves it along. It gently moves it along. Why? Because it's not suppressing it. Why is it not suppressing it? Because it's not a synthetic compound. It is made from nature. And we need to uphold nature more closely. We need to step aside from manipulation at all times. So I'm not talking about, sepsis, septicemia, blood poisoning. I'm not talking about that. That's not a normal childhood disease. But we can talk about that tonight because I have listed a number of medicines or conditions and medicines that I think would be the most common diseases and medicines that you need to know about. I'm not going to give them all to you. I actually have an entire course, Joette's Learning Center. Joette's Learning Center. You go there and you scroll down to antibiotic alternative. And it's an entire course on it because there are far too many conditions for which homeopathy has been known historically, been proven clinically, time and again, to have aborted certain conditions, certain infections. But I'm going to give you a handful of them tonight. And then I'll follow up. I'll do another one because I really think that this has great value. But I want you to start tonight with this one idea that infections such as common childhood diseases are not only nothing to fear, they are something to celebrate. We're not talking about a serious urinary tract infection. We don't just let that go, obviously. Or even a mild urinary tract infection. We're going to treat that homeopathically. We're not talking about blood poisoning, obviously. We're not talking about a wound that is infected. We don't just let them go. But when it comes to a normal childhood infection, I do want you to think about the long-term effects of using synthetic drugs of commerce. And that if it really freaks you out, that you learn how to use homeopathy. It's super easy. I can't tell you the number of times I hear mothers say, but I don't want him to suffer. Well, yeah, but let's look at the long picture. You're in this for the long haul, right? This is not just about this week and next week, is it? It is about this child's entire life, right? Not only will that, if we suppress the condition, with synthetics, that we can drive it to a deeper state so that not only does that little cough that they had turn into something more serious like bronchitis or pneumonia, and then repeat and repeat and repeat, because the body is not stupid. Mother Nature knows what to do. It's just going to keep coming back. Those ear infections are just going to keep returning because they were treated incorrectly with drugs of commerce. So I've got my laptop here and I jotted down some ideas. And there are categories of infections that we can look at. There are those that are from that are what people consider, I caught a cold. I don't know that that's so. I'm going to be honest with you. I find that most colds, flus, I'm associating them with weather changes, barometric pressure shift, a shift in the temperature. I just have seen too many times when, the whole family got sick, so it must have been infectious. It must have been contagious. I don't know. I'm questioning that because I see too many times when three members of the family get sick and another one doesn't, and yet the one that doesn't is the one with the immune problems that ought to be the one getting sick. I've also read of people who have gone into Antarctica and they were alone. I think it was one of the studies I read. I wish I should have gotten this up for you so that I could read it to you. But it's a very interesting story about explorers in Antarctic who were alone for years. No one new came in and no one left, and yet they got sick with a cold, a flu. So where'd they get it from? How did they catch it from someone if there was no one there that came new for years? Was it just like meandering around and waiting for the opportunity, or was there something else that may have been a part of this shift? So when I think of a cold or a flu, whether it is from a virus that has been caught, or whether it's from a barometric shift, or it's from someone not wearing a hat and the cold wind hitting them, or it's from somebody working in a damp basement and working with asbestos or something, and then they have a respiratory infection, which is I see far too many times, not necessarily with asbestos, but contractors who get sick frequently. And they think they caught it from someone, when I believe their immune system is trying to rid themselves of the products that they've been using or been exposed to. The first remedy I think of, and I've said this so many times, but I want to reiterate it because it is important that you remember this and that you own these medicines, okay? First one I think of is aconitum 200 mixed with Bryonia 30. That is a Banerjee protocol. And that is for the onset of a cold or flu, an infection of sorts. Whether it's an infection, whether it's a virus, whether it's a reaction to something you've been exposed to or someone in your family's been exposed to, nonetheless, it's one of our best medicines for that. So, once that has established, let's say you didn't use aconitum bryonia early enough, or you didn't use it enough. You were thinking, I only use it once a day. No. We don't do that. We use it every few hours, sometimes even every 15 minutes if it's severe enough for 1 hour, and after that, then every few hours. But let's say it's gone a day or two, and now it's changed, and it has turned into something else. And what it's turned into is an infection of sorts that is related to the sinuses and the eyes and the mouth. There's halitosis, there's a lot of saliva, and now the ears have gotten infected, and maybe the adenoids or the tonsils have gotten infected. And then I think of a remedy such as Mercurius Sol, or sometimes Mercurius Vive. And when I say sometimes, those medicines are slightly different, but they are actually interchangeable. Mercurius Sol or Mercurius Vive, excellent remedy for something that you would normally use an antibiotic for. Oh boy, those tonsils are infected. They're almost kissing. You better get them. You better get that antibiotic in there, and then we better use some steroids because we don't want them to get too close together. And we use Mercurius Sol / Mercurius Vive. And I like it in a 30th potency every 15 minutes if it's severe enough. For the first hour, after the first hour, then every few hours. That's especially if there is an odor. Now, what if it's a strep throat? I've had so many mothers describe to me that they know their child is going to get a strep throat, that there's no pain in the throat, but they can tell by the odor emitted from the child's breath. From the throat. They can tell immediately that something is about to happen, and they recognize that odor. And it is a strep odor of sorts. And then one of my best medicines, not mine actually, one of the medicines I love most is belladonna. Belladonna, beautiful woman, belladonna, 30. Same thing every 15 minutes if it's severe enough. So if it's a strep throat and we see that it's red and painful and there might be a fever and there are spots of white on the tonsils or on the back of the throat or the uvula, the little punching bag in the center. We see that that's red and painful and there's a belladonna, 30 every 15 minutes for the first hour, if it's severe enough. If it's not so severe, my friends, don't push this. Meet the condition with the potency or the frequency, excuse me. I want you if just because you're scared doesn't mean it is serious. And I have to tell you, you know how they say put the mask on yourself first on a plane that might be going down and then on your child? My friends, if you are nervous and worried about your child and you're wringing your hands and, oh my gosh, what if this turns into, and it could be, and you know where it could go? This could be this and it could be that, then you need, my friends, to either take Ignatia 200 or Aconitum 200. And perhaps both, one after another, a couple of doses. Because that child, if we're talking about children, that family member is depending on you to be clear-headed. You need to be solid in your understanding of what to do and your trust in this. Because if you freak, because in fear, we act like chickens with our heads cut off. And you'll be dashing about all over the place trying to figure out what you should do next. And the first thing you'll do is say, help me, somebody help me, help me, help. And guess where you'll end up if you use those words? Help me means let's get to the hospital. Let's get to the pediatrician. And they will do something. They'll be right there waiting for you. And they will administer the antibiotics, the Tylenol, the other suppressive drugs. And they may even require a couple of injections. So you have to decide, are you able to do this? Can you do this? Are you comfortable learning this? If you're not, then you indeed must go to someone who uses those methods. If you're thinking that maybe I'm on the cusp, I'm not 100% sure, then, my friend, I entreat you to learn this. Take this in deeply. Saturate yourself with this information, my friends. Learn this to the point where it matters not what comes your way, you know what to do. Now, I'm not saying you need to know how to treat every condition, but if you've got a baby, you've got children, you've got pets, you have to know what the medicines are for that age, that breed, for those conditions. That's what I'm talking about. And my friends, if you don't know, I want you to know where to go. And one of the best ways to know where to go is to join one of our Gateway to Homeopathy groups. I can't urge you enough to do that. If you're have already done this, do it again. Why would you do it again? Listen, you already own the book. You don't have to pay for it again, pay for the book again. You may have to pay to join a group, but it's so ridiculously inexpensive. I'm saying do it again because you may have missed something. And more importantly, my friends, you will have missed perhaps the community that comes from taking these classes over and over again and getting to know your leader. And if you don't know how to do this, go to Joette's Learning Center and join one of my study groups, Gateway to Homeopathy. Invaluable. This is how I learned this stuff. Back in the 80s, I've said this many times, my friends and I gathered. We met every Thursday night for 4 years. We wouldn't miss it for anything on earth. No matter what was going on in our lives, it was our nourishment. We needed to meet each other. We needed to learn how to treat our children. At the time, I only had one baby. And most of my friends had only 1 or 2 babies. And we were together and we helped each other. Okay. Let's talk about another infection. Another place where an antibiotic might be used. How about ear infections? Oh my gosh. They're so ubiquitous. A lot of it comes from the wrong foods, from tinkering from, those offices, the well baby checkups, where lots of stuff is administered, even though the baby is well. And now they've got ear infections. And the baby's crying, or the child is crying, or this could be an adult. Adults get ear infections too. swimmer's ear. That's an infection. Same thing, ear infection. What would we do? Well, if the pain is extreme, and I mean extreme, the person is moaning with pain and rocking, or the child is screaming and carrying on about this pain. You could give an analgesic, but then maybe that bike won't be able to be ridden on later on. Or maybe that shoe might not be able to be tied properly. Or maybe that sentence that they're struggling over, trying to learn how to read an entire sentence, will not be understood. So instead, if it's an extreme pain, my friends, especially for ear infections, is going to be chamomilla. Now, we're not treating the pain. We are treating the whole condition that includes extreme pain. You see how different this is? This is not a pain reliever, although it will relieve the pain. This is a medicine that is specific to treat the person who is suffering from the ear infection. The pain goes down. The person's able to go to bed and fall asleep. If they wake up and the pain returns, what do? Do we say, oh no, it's back again? No, instead we say, hallelujah. We know it's back again and we know exactly what to do. What? Chamomilla, again, 30 or 200. I like the 200 frequently for chamomilla, especially for ear infections. Chamomilla is one of our best medicines for extreme pain, whether it's an adult or a child, and particularly this kind of pain, because they're all different kinds of pains. They're all different kinds. But for extreme pain, when it is quite severe, then we're going to consider chamomilla. And if the child happens to be teething, even if they're teething as an adult, with wisdom teeth that are coming in and they get an ear infection or ear pain, and in addition to the teething, what remedy are we going to consider using if the pain is extreme? Chamomilla, 200C, every few hours. See how this works? It's quite elegant. Now let's talk about eye infections, shall we? There's a place that antibiotics are used on a regular basis. Not only do they give them orally, but you're supposed to smear the eyes with antibiotics. If there's a discharge from the eyes that's colored yellow or green, and even if there's a fever, all of these can be accompanied by a fever. Everything I've mentioned so far can be accompanied by a fever. We're going to be considering a medicine like pulsatilla. How many of you knew that? Let's see. I want to see how many you are. I've been using chamomilla 30 in liquid with great success. Yeah, 30 works as well too. I like chamomilla 200, particularly for teething. But you're right, chamomilla 30 can do just as much good. Chamomilla, my friends, remember these are Latin words. So if you look up chamomilla and you put in K-A-M, and you phonetically try to figure out the rest, it will correct, right? We live in a world where corrections are made for us, and it will come out with C-H-A-M, chamomilla. Yeah, so sad you all can't get Optique 1 anymore. No, you can't get Optique right now necessarily, but you can look at what the ingredients were for Optique and then just use those ingredients, right? Okay. Yes, please, my friends, like this, share it, and do subscribe. I need your support because you need my support. We need each other. And I want this to get out to as many households as possible. This, my friends, is the foundation of self-reliance, mother at the helm of the care for the family, the health care, the family itself, and the foundation, the very foundation of our society. That's how important this is. This is not just for you to treat this or treat that. Yes, it's that. Yes, in the moment, I want you to know what to do and how to do it and to own these medicines. But the undergirding of all of this, my friends, is so broad. It's so lofty that it's sometimes even incomprehensible how far this can go. I use Staphysagria 30 for a sty. You bet. Staphysagria is great for a sty because I had them frequently, and now I hardly get them. But if I get one, I go back to Staphysagria 30. You're absolutely right. Staphysagria is for a sty. Let's see what else we've got here. Some other questions. Pardon me? Yeah, I'm going to go to my Mighties tonight for those who are my Mighty members. I'll be going there in about three or 4 minutes. My family's favorite is euphrasia. Great remedy for the eyes. Also good for eye infections. Now, the reason I tell you about pulsatilla is a very specific set of conditions. Yellowish or greenish discharge in the eyes. And also, if it happens to have come as a result of shortly after having had an overabundance of dairy in someone who's not so capable of consuming dairy, then we're going to be thinking more of pulsatilla. But you are so right, Lisa, that euphrasia is an overall eye infection remedy as well. So euphrasia 30 is a good one. I have a wisdom tooth that moves from time to time. Chamomilla works great. Yes. Yeah, beautiful. Here we go. My 2.5-year-old granddaughter is getting over pink eye. Have been giving pulsatilla and heap ourselves. No more goop, but a little red. Still give pulsatilla? Love that question. Why do I love that question? Because this is case management that you're asking, and you want to learn case management, which is exactly what you're doing here. I want you to know that when you use a medicine and it acts, do you say, maybe I should move, maybe I should change it? Or do we not tinker with success and stay with the medicine? As long as the medicine is acting, it may not finish it, it might need to be repeated, just like what you're saying. As long as it has shown itself to be correct, I want you to stay with it. If it stops acting and you see no change at all and the person is still suffering, now I want you to look at the new symptoms that may have arisen or something that was there but not as prominent and now it's more noteworthy. I want you to look at those and start noticing something else. So let me give you an example of that. This person is using pulsatilla and heparsil for her granddaughter's conjunctivitis. Let's say the eye is better, but now she's got nausea and vomiting and a burny stomach. One of our best medicines for that is arsenicum album. So we might change to that, but that's not what she's reporting. Donna's reporting that, no, it's acting. Stay with it. Stay there. Stay there. Let's see what else we've got. And then I'm going to go over to my Mighties in just a minute. You're welcome, Lynn. Lung infections, pneumonia. I've written about it on my blog. I do want you to check that out. Some of our best medicines. I'm not mine. I say that all the time because I love them so much. I feel like they're mine. These medicines feel like they're part of my family. Cali Carb is one of our best medicines for lung infections, pneumonia. There are other medicines as well. I've written about it. You might want to go to that. Joette Calabrese pneumonia, Joette Calabrese bronchitis. Do check that out. There are others. If we catch it early enough with aconitum, as I said in the very beginning, it can abort it right away. So a lot of times people have the sense that, oh my gosh, I can feel it coming. I know the sensation. I understand this. And then they start taking aconitum and they can halt the progression. Or even if they can't completely halt it, it softens the entire event. Yep, thank you very much. What do we have here? Who is this saying? Is it Susie? Thank you, Susie. Lung infections, pneumonia, Cali Carb, and lachesis, especially if there's breathlessness. Lachesis is excellent. Christine says, I send all my friends to your website. Thank you for all you do, Joette. Thank you for saying. Thank you for doing that. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, my friends, it's 8:30 Eastern time. I'm going to go on to my Mighties. All of those of you who are a member of Joette's Mighty members, stay on and we will move on. Are you going to shift over for me? Okay. And I'm going to answer more questions on mites.